Hi, I'm Bob Dixon. Welcome to the Leader's Edge Hot Takes edition of the Five Eagles Insight Podcast. For over 3 decades, I served in the military as an engineer and as a strategist, and I learned a few things about leadership. We know that it goes beyond theory. It's about real-world application. So in this series, sponsored by Five Eagles Leadership, we feature industry leaders and share their leadership journeys with you. My mission's simple. It's to help you become the best leader you can be. Now, if that sounds like something you're interested in, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to be considered as a guest in upcoming episodes, please go to 5eaglesleadership.com/interview and apply today. Now, let's get started. Thanks so much for meeting with me. I'm just really interested in what you're doing. And I sent you some questions earlier, and I'd really like to just get to know a little bit more about your business and about your leadership journey. So, if you don't mind, I'm going to go jump right in.
Please do.
All right. Um, can you give us about a 90-second overview of what your business does and kind of why you got into that?
Okay, well, it's my organization's name is the MSA Group, and it was created 27 years ago by my father, who was in the specialty plastics industry, and he worked with DuPont for many years. And 18 years ago, I took over the company because of his passing, and and from going from a one product company which was representing exclusively DuPont, we went to 9 different companies, including ExxonMobil. All the bigger players in specialty plastics, and we've grown that in the last 18 years considerably. And about 12 years ago, we opened up a second division, which is a division for recycling, which is more on the environmental side. So now we also represent exclusively 9 companies that are who is who. So it's pretty much a one-stop shop in both specialty plastics and recycling projects, turnkey equipment, sales, service on a local basis, with offices based in Colombia, but covering all Latin America. So from our headquarters in Colombia, we have the international headquarters, and it covers from Mexico down to Brazil and the islands as well. So, and I'm based here out of our international headquarters in Miami, and we have satellites and family office in El Paso, Texas, and in Boston, and it's grown. It's a small family who became a big family, and I think the saying of my company, which when I started, I brought to the company, is that we're large enough to supply your needs and small enough to care. That's pretty much the philosophy.
I love that. I love that. I think a lot of big corporations lose that personal feeling. Like small enough to care is such a great sentiment, right? It's a great value as long as the people within the organization live that value,
No, and as
right?
days, I mean, like the world has changed incredibly. Not only COVID, but that was a big influencer in the way people thought, and using technology, as you say,
Yeah.
to communicate. But there's a price to everything, and you lose that loyalty, you lose the human touch, and if you don't care, it just ends up being like what we're living in the U.S. today, where you're dialing 5 numbers to get to a human being, and you lose that. And that's why we call it specialty plastics. If not, it would be ordinary plastics. But
Perfect.
we have to add the value out of customer service.
So what's the biggest problem that you're facing, like that your industry in that you've been able to solve?
Well, curiously enough, we're in the best times of our history in the company. I think the hardest things to solve are the things that are out of our control lately, which are devaluations. We can be having a great month, but that the Colombian peso went 10% down, and there goes all the profit. So those are things that are very difficult to really foresee in this unstable economy that we're living in, with so many rumors and things like this. And of course, the logistics is probably the biggest thing. Before, you had a controlled price and a faster delivery, and not all these issues that we have with logistics nowadays, that the pricing is skyrocketing. So now logistics is turning itself into right there next to cost of goods. So
Right.
that's becoming an issue that we weren't thinking. I mean, at least we didn't think it was going to come that fast. I guess it's more the uncertainty is the problem. But if it would be easy, anybody, everybody would do it.
I love that. So, yeah, uncertainty is one of those things that leaders have to deal with, right? We have to make decisions based on imperfect information. And we have to be comfortable with that, of weighing risks and understanding when we're making assumptions about the 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 price that's going to be available to us down the road, particularly in a changing environment like we're in right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's and you point out, I think, some really important things that are beyond your control, right? Devaluation, the cost of logistics, the amount of uncertainty. Those aren't within your control. How do you deal with that as a leader?
Well, first of all, we have to go back to leading by example, because many times leaders would make the mistake of blaming their employees or just blaming their teams. Why weren't you on this and why aren't you on that? Instead of understanding this uncertainty and being a part of a proactive team to look for things before they happen, and have and I think as a leader I've been forced, even though that's not my forte, to involve myself more in the administrative side and the financial side of things, because all the great work of an incredible sales and marketing team and logistics can be foiled at the time of you know doing the invoice, and and having some kind of mistake or some kind of now we have to work a lot with tools that the banks give us to set provisions and different it's all a calculated gamble, no? But you have to be on top of things, and in order to do that, you can't be running and turning off fires. You have to have time to really create,
Yeah.
and think proactively and in calm how to avoid it to happen again, or how to minimize the possibility of it impacting so much. And then going back to the therapeutic dose, just what's the minimum amount we can do to create the biggest result, and cost cutting and maximizing the most important thing, which is human resources. People do business with the people they like, so we have to keep that in mind.
Okay, so a couple of things stand out to me, right? Understanding the challenges that your people are going through, right? If you couldn't see a change in a cost for a logistics movement, for example, you can't hold your subordinate leader accountable for, hey, how come you went over budget? Like, well, the price changed.
Yeah,
That's not their fault. And so recognizing that as a leader and going, okay, I understand, but systemically, what can we do differently that might avoid those problems, as opposed to blaming somebody for it?
yeah, that's correct. It's curious, Bob, because I grew up in corporate. I was with a large Danish pharmaceutical company for 20 years. I was, from rep to general manager in Brazil and in Mexico with them. And it's curious, sometimes I give talks and I say it's really life. What it's turning into is it's not about learning. It's truly about unlearning the limiting beliefs, unlearning all the rules that they say you have to do it this way. And the only way you can really unlearn is when you're free to get out of the box. And if you lead by terror rather than lead by example, you'll never achieve it, because people have to want to know the answer. They have to have a sense of ownership. So that's why the saying is even deeper: large enough to supply your needs, small enough to care. When I say that, I'm talking about my external customers and my internal customers. So they understand, my employees understand that we're small enough to care for each other. We make a mistake, we help each other out. So keeping a family environment with principles and family values, and that of course goes to my home and my 4 children. I think that's really important.
I think that's an incredible insight right there. I work with a lot of small businesses, and I rarely hear somebody articulate it the way you just have. We're small enough to care. And the fact that you're fully cognizant is not just small enough to care for our clients and customers, but my internal customer, my holders are just as important. They need to know that we're still small enough to care. We're not this huge corporate entity that has become unpersonalized.
Okay. I'll give you a little quick story, because besides small enough to care, it's very important, that sense of ownership. And I was in Brazil, I think 20 years ago, when I was an expat for this pharmaceutical company, and I was the general manager reporting to the president. And the employees, it was about 90 employees, and they would come up to me and say, "Hey, Presi," in Portuguese, you know, because I speak Portuguese as well. They say, "Hey, Presi, Presi, Presi for short for president, Presi." And I said, "Hey, don't be calling me Presi, you know, I'm not the president, I'm the general manager, he's the president." He said, "No, no, no, the thing culturally, in Brazil, we call Presi the person who makes the decisions."
Mm.
And that really marked me because from then on, I've had, you know, that's 20 years ago, and I still do it to today. I've created an organization where everybody's a president of their area. You know, that being a president of their area, that goes again with large enough to supply your needs. You are a president. You are responsible. I give you these parameters. I trust your mistakes. I'll be there with you. If we screw it up, we'll do it together. First time, you know, is a mistake. Second time, I'll support you. Third time, I'm not going to enable you. But then everybody goes as a president and with a sense of ownership, and it self creates. It's like artificial intelligence with humans. You know, it self creates itself, and they're wanting to do the same thing with their direct reports, and that's just like the legacy of generations. You know, and that's why, you know, we're running. I'm running a company that at this stage it's going to be for them. You know,
So
so
George, that speaks about the culture that you've created there, right? And I feel like there's a lot of leaders that don't let their subordinates own the space that they're responsible for. So they'll give them tasks, but they won't give them the authority. They won't have that perspective of, okay, here's your sandbox. You are responsible for everything that happens or doesn't happen inside that sandbox. You're the owner. You are the president.
exactly.
So when you have that perspective, that gives them autonomy, right? It gives them purpose. It gives them an opportunity to grow and to fill the space around them.
Bob, it's the only way.
I agree 100%. And I learned that lesson the hard way, I think, when I was kind of dipping my toe into a leadership role I had been assigned. And my boss came to me like, she goes, "Are you in charge or not?"
Well, you know, that's funny that you say that, Bob, because I just came to my mind a memory that, you know, I worked, it was a lot of really good years in corporate. Hence, you know, it's not what you know, it's what you realize you don't know. And as I grew up in corporate, you know, after 18 years, getting a little bit tired of, you know, maybe some of the things that corporate does that, you know, bureaucratically, things that you would say, I really wouldn't do it this way, but this is the way it's done, and you're just going to follow this. And I broke out of that system, you know, 21 years ago I started, and I've never worked for somebody since. Hence, because, you know, you create your own system, and I would always tell myself, my inner child, "Hey George, you know what that person just told me to sign that and to put these numbers here, or to write all, or create all these reports that are just going to keep you busy without any production. Let's do that, but write it down, because one day I'm going to have a company and I'm going to do exactly the contrary." And then you put all that stuff together and you have a common sense company. You have a company that you would like to work for. And you know, and I'm not just saying this, I'd love for you to talk to the people in my company. Everybody's going to talk to you in the same way because it's a family. And we get things done, and we're value added. We understand the value of, you know, smaller caring means you grab the phone when everybody else just sends a text. You know, you do these
Yeah.
little extra things. With the situations in Latin America, a lot of times there's out of stocks and things like this. We have customers that lend us product to save the situation for a competitor. So we're actually even making the marketplace a friendly place. It's healthy competition. And there's no second place for us, you know, and we'd love to have more competition, but people are just, you know, one timers and two timers, and you know, there's no other company that's been around for 27 years in the two specialties that I've been, never, you know, in one country. So imagine in all the countries that we're in. So it puts us in a good position, but it puts us in a, you know, we're in a position that we have to be very competitive and show value added, because we are the most expensive, and we always will be, because it's the premium product. It comes with, you know, application needs, from designing, um, you know, a whole solution that's going to eliminate 3,000 tons of waste for a city. That's a huge thing,
That
and
is huge.
a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot of planning. It's a lot of, you know, involving and connecting the dots. Another little story. I'm a storyteller, right? I have four children. My fourth child, he's now 15. This was 5 years ago. He came to me one day after school. He goes to a private school, and he asked me, "Hey, Dad, what is it that you do?" You know, and at the time I was global ambassador for cancer treatment centers. I had, you know, I have the EMSA company, the EMSA group. I have another company called Lanza, consulting for solutions. I get involved in circular economy and consulting. So it's just a series of things. And I say, well, as an entrepreneur, I start this mind map, and my no, dad, it's for school. Just one sentence. And that was incredible. I follow Buddhist philosophy, and I really opened a lot of thought because again, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. That opened a bunch of doors.
Yeah.
If I don't know what I do in one sentence, then how do I know that I'm really appropriately asking myself the right questions and I'm not, distracting myself and going in circles in some places? So, well, I gave it a lot of thought, and the story is the next day, before even speaking with him, I updated my LinkedIn and I put it as my title, and it's still there in part of one of my titles in Lanza Consulting. And I said, Eduardo, it's not even a sentence, it's just 3 words. I connect dots. you know and
Yeah.
if you really realize it, it's connecting a need with the supply. It's to connecting with your heart, with the things you'd like to do, little things like following up, a sales call where we're using now this AI device, the Plod note taker, whatever. I gave it to all my employees just fresh out, and they're using it in their interviews, of course, mentioning the fact that they're going to record the thing, and they're putting follow-ups with all the action items 2 minutes after they leave the office of that person. I mean, that's ultra, customer service unheard
Yep.
of these days. And these are like I say in marriage and in life, the littlest details makes the largest differences.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you make sure that your values, your culture, your mindset, and leadership philosophy trickle down to all of the people within your company?
Well, in my case, it was different because I trickled up. I started as the sales rep, and then when it got too heavy, I brought in another person. And in logistics, we grew step by step. Whenever the water was above the level, we would hire somebody. So we're always running behind the ball, and that kept us with that forward falling movement at all times. But again, it's it's just um, a lot of hard work.
Yeah, I think something that you said earlier about leading by example is such an important thing, right? When you're showing people that you personally care and that you expect them as leaders to personally care, that goes a long ways. I've met a lot of leaders out there that are like, they'll say that you should care about your people, but then they don't
I don't think
personally
that's so.
invest.
Exactly.
So that role modeling piece.
You have to walk your talk. There's no
Exactly.
other way, Bob.
Yeah.
If you don't
So
walk your talk,
autonomy, role modeling, you've got it all going on. I love that. Um, where do you see your industry going in the next couple of years, and then how are you kind of visualizing how you're going to adapt to that industry change?
well, in my case, I have two different worlds. Specialty plastics is a consumer product, so it's a consumable. So you're having a lot of orders, a lot of movement, but the biggest well, what protects me the most is we have the best products in the world like DuPont, Eastman, ExxonMobil, Krayberg, the big names in specialty plastics, which are the most expensive, but also these are the ones that go through the rigorous quality controls, et cetera, et cetera. So if you have a customer like Ford or like Nissan or whatever, or in a big cosmetic company, they're not going to be risking using other qualities. So that protects us, because in order for them to switch from my brand to an Oriental or an Asian brand that's maybe 40% cheaper, it's going to take them a year of testing and just in the batches and everything. So that's what protects me. On the other hand, we can't not say that competitiveness increases quality of everybody.
Yeah.
So they're working better, they're working harder, and there's products that they're making there's enough market for them, but we have to be careful. And the loyalty issue which is quite an issue. So we just have to keep on doing our thing, and being extra human, if you want to say,
Yeah.
um, and work arduously in creating value adds where they're not looking at the cost of the product, but they're looking at the value of the result, or the idea that we gave them, or the flow that we were able to help them that can increase their productivity, or the carbon credits that they're going to get, which they didn't even know about. So we educate them on carbon credits and on ways that they can make a better bottom line. All my customers, which were created from my father 27 years ago, most of them started with one 25-kilogram bag of plastics. Now we're talking 2, 3, 4 container loads, 20 tons, 50 tons. So it's, we've seen that growth and we've done it together. That's on the plastic side. On the recycling side, it's another world, because we're talking about solutions that the problems are coming faster than the solutions regarding climate and regarding recycling in general. So we have the best products. The problem is the governments don't see that return on investment on climate issues, because there's a lot faster return on other things. So it's a game of education and competitiveness. So we're manufacturing solutions here in Latin America in many cases, distributing the equipment and the technology from the manufacturers that we've been enjoying exclusive partnerships for 12 years, but using like the conveyor belts and doing things locally, working with the local the local import duties and all the issues of law. And so it's just staying on top of the boat and being proactive. And one of the things we're doing is switching the name. We're upgrading EMSA Recycling to EMSA Environmental. And this probably answers your question, because what we're doing is EMSA Environmental is the umbrella which EMSA Recycling is a part of. The second part is another innovative products. We're getting into refrigerants and cutting edge refrigerants that save 15 to 30% energy. So that has to go in another division, which is special products and innovation. And the third one is just a full-blown EMSA consulting, which there's many companies out there that are looking for a company like me that has 27 years throughout Latin America. It's a turnkey kind of thing. Just come in. Better than having a boat is having a friend with a boat. I'm the boat. I'm the friend with the boat. So I know the market. I have the credibility. I know all the legal issues. We represent their interests. We do a joint venture, and that would be the third division, which is new opportunities. And I think that it's as bright as ever. It's really as bright as ever, with even all the questions and all the uncertainty, which is more uncertain than ever as well.
Yep.
I think it's all coming in balance.
Well, you also talked about your willingness to adopt new technologies as they arrive, right? Just the fact that you gave AI note takers to your teams and said, okay, look, not lose our humanity in this, but use tools to give us better customer service.
That's correct.
It's beautiful, right? It's a beautiful vision. We're not trying to replace our human people with an AI. We want to upskill and create better value from our efforts using tools.
I call it, coming from I'm a PharmD and I worked in pharmaceuticals, so I call it a therapeutic dose.
Yep.
Therapeutic dose is how can you do the least possible or use the least amount of medicine to have the best results. And why? Because nowadays we have to do a lot more with less. And AI and all these things is actually a tool to do that. So that'll allow me to hire people to do things that produce sales, create demand, have time to do marketing initiatives, and through education, create a market, because I'm not coming in and going out. I've been here forever and I'm going to continue. So we're part of the community in the sense that we want to grow the market and the technologies and do things better. There's products that now that you can take, which we're representing. It's a product that you can take from organic trash. It goes through a process and it produces plastic pellets, which those pellets have a carbon credit. They can be used, making chairs, anything else. You're not sending it to a landfill, and you're producing chairs. I mean, and there's a horizon of ideas out there, and that's why I spend a little bit of my free time, if you want to say, being an angel investor and helping people here in Miami-Dade County to make their dreams come true and go from startup dream to how do we put our feet on the floor and do it. So I'd like to help.
That's awesome. Now you
I learn
sound
more
like you've had
than they do. Trust me.
but it sounds like you've done a lot of the right things and you've had a lot of successes, Sarah. But I suspect that along the way you've you stumbled and you've made mistakes, and most people learn more from their failures than their successes. Can you share one with me?
Oh my God. Well, I repeat that a lot, and it's not what I know, it's what I know I never want to do again. So I'm just trying to think of a good one. One of my mistakes, I guess, what comes to my mind is that I've always felt responsible as a leader, as the manager, let's say the highest supervisor. when I see something go wrong in a restaurant or in something, I'm immediately looking at compassion to that person and saying, I can only imagine, what the manager, what is the manager failing at, and I think a lot of times, and I learned this, the hard way. Don't think that I learned this one day from one way to another. I learned a lot of times, and that probably comes to the fact when you asked me at the beginning, when somebody makes a mistake, I don't jump on them because I've made them myself. But I give them the opportunity to say, hey, the first one is fine. The second one, hey, let's support you a little bit more. Hey, three is enabling, buddy.
Yeah.
So it's self training, but I guess it's because I talk to myself in the same way. So I've made mistakes in the past where I've probably given more responsibility and taken less myself. Where I realize, and same thing applies in relationships. You can't ever point the finger at somebody else because that's a reflection of something that you're thinking of. So I try to apply that spirituality to that, and I think I've learned to not well. Let's just say I've humbly learned to be a lot better at it.
That's awesome. I love that, and I love the coaching aspect of that. Right? I mean, I'm a leadership coach. Is what I do. But to hear you say like, okay, you made a mistake. Let's coach through that. Right? Was it a training issue? Was it a resource issue? Was it a compliance issue? And oh, by the way, if you keep doing the same things over and over again, now we're going to have a serious conversation about your motivation
Having
here.
the humanity to say in a meeting, which has happened many times, to say, hey, Javier, or whoever I'm speaking with or working with, I say, hey, what do you think I could have done better there? By them telling me, imagine the relationship is not a relationship, hey, you're the president of the company, I can't talk. No, it has to be a relationship where we're synergistically working together. And it just makes sense. And I end the statement always with, there's no other way about it.
So what's next for you, like personally, as a leader, as a
I've got.
coach?
I'll answer that with a little bit of excitement, but I can't tell you because I'd have to kill you. But
Okay.
but the point being is, yes, there's really exciting things right around the corner, and you're going to know about it because around the corner, I'm saying probably a press release going out in about a month, and
Okay.
what I can tell you is I'm gonna be doing something that, in addition to all these things that I've mentioned, now I have general managers in place. The company's working incredibly. I'm going to continue being chairman of the board and having this mentality till the day I die. Hence, I'm thinking of taking on an opportunity to really make impact in large scale. I can't say much more than that, but it's gonna be really really cool, and it's about legacy. It's about trying to use that wisdom to the benefit of everybody around me. So it's soon, information to come, but to grow and continue to grow all the time, to continue to accept innovation, continue to give people the opportunities that were given to me when I was asking, when I was just recently graduated, and people gave me those opportunities, and see people with compassion. Always consider why, if somebody makes a mistake or somebody's acting bluntly wrong, have that compassion to say, I wonder what family values or what issues that person
Right.
might have in their past, because I think 95% of all our issues has to do with our upbringing, our inner child, and that's a whole other interview. But I think you as a leadership coach understand the spiritual aspect of all this. So I guess it has to come from the inside out,
Yep.
and you can't be filling any void with somebody else. You got to do it from the inside out.
That's awesome. Listen, George, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your time with me today and with my audience. It's a growing audience. We're really just getting started doing our leadership. Great leaders like you that are out there every day in the trenches making stuff happen, but growing other leaders and growing their business at the same time. And it sounds like doing a lot more for the community, the larger community as well. Uh, Lastly, let me ask you, how do people get in contact with you if they like to work with you or discuss referral partnership with you?
Absolutely. The best place would be just to contact through my website or through my personal email. It's gel at themsagroup.com, themsagroup.com, or visiting our website, themsagroup.com, and they can get all kind of information there. And I'd be more than happy to address anything I can do to help. And again, Bob, I'm happy to help. Happy to help. If this helped one person, it's one more than was helped before. So I think
Beautiful.
these kinds of programs, and I wish you all the luck. because these kinds of programs are exactly what the world needs these days.
Thank you so much, George. We've been talking with CEO and owner of Themis Group and an angel investor, connector of dots, and strategic thinker. So thank you so much, George.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a blessed day.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Leader's Edge Hot Take Series. I hope you found today's insight meaningful, valuable, and that you're ready to put them into action. Now, if you enjoyed the episode and want to keep improving your leaderships, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. I post new content every week, packed with strategies, tips, and real-life examples to help you lead with impact. And remember, great leadership isn't just about guiding others, it's about continuously growing yourself. If you'd like to be considered as a guest for upcoming episodes, please go to 5eaglesleadership.com/interview to apply today. Keep pushing, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next episode. Be awesome.